Hello, everyone. Good to see you once again. I'm back again. My name's Gesire Marian Temile. Today, I'll be talking about folk tales. In Nigeria, that is the word we use in telling stories. It is tagged as, our stories in Nigeria is tagged as folk tales. In then days, these stories are being told to children by the elderly people while they are seated around on the floor, and there's a fire burning by the side, and the elders are there, like the oldest person in the family will not put this kind of stories out to the children. And most of those folk tales have always been an integral part of our culture in Nigeria. Nigerian folk tales are often used to teach us moral lessons. From the elderly people to the younger ones. It's a way of teaching us to be wise as we grow up, be able to do our things accordingly in the right direction. And this morals is about the right and wrong of our behaviors. This often involves a fight between the good and the bad and the evil. Nigerian folk tales involve the use of animals, attributing certain characters to them. Example of the animal that is widely used in the stories in Nigeria is the tortoise. The tortoise is often used as a symbol of greed and of wittiness in many Nigerian stories. For today, I would love to tell you one story I love most that my grandparents would tell me when I was growing up. I would like to share that story with you. Are you ready to listen? Okay. The title of my story that I enjoyed growing up, I enjoyed hearing when I was growing up, is Why the Tortoise Shell is Cracked. If you must agree with me, you can notice that the tortoise shell has some cracks on it. And this is why it is cracked. The tortoise is known in the animal kingdom as a very greedy and lazy individual. And everyone avoided him. Whenever it was planting season, he would never leave the house. But when it was time to harvest, he would always look for opportunities to loot others. One day, he walked out of his house and saw the bird, his neighbor. Tortoise approached his neighbor, the bird, and asked where he was coming from. And the bird explained that the bird community always hosted a feast in the clouds once every year. And they were making preparations. The tortoise was instantly interested when he heard there would be a feast. And he asked if he could be invited. Then the bird said yes and invited the tortoise to the feast. But there was a problem of actually getting there. If you remember, the tortoise doesn't have wings, but the birds, they've got wings to fly. So there's no way the tortoise can go up where the birds are having their meeting because it doesn't have wings. So that was where the problem is. Then the bird proposed a suggestion to the tortoise, where the tortoise asked that there's a problem, he needed the wings to fly like the birds, to go to the party of the clouds. Then the bird proposed a suggestion that all the birds donate a feather to make the tortoise a pair of a makeshift wings to enable him fly. On the day of the feast, tortoise flew with the bird to the clouds and sat among the birds at the feast. Being his witful self, tortoise proposed that they each give themselves nicknames. Each bird named itself, and when it was the turn of the tortoise, he named himself All of Us. When it was time to eat, he asked the host who owned all the food on the table. The bird host answered and said, "Well, it's for all of us." Tortoise then smiled and declared himself the owner of the feast because his name was All of Us. He wolfed down all the feast, much to the annoyance of all the birds. They left the feast in anger because they had nothing to eat. One at a time they left. And when it was time for the tortoise to leave, he discovered that it was too heavy for his makeshift wings because he has overfed himself. Tortoise pleaded for more feathers, but the birds ignored him. Tortoise plummeted down and crashed on a solid ground. However, because of his thick shell, he did not die, but his shell became cracked ever since. I hope you all now see why the tortoise shell is cracked. Thank you all for listening and see you very soon. Bye.